Hello, first graders, and welcome back to another chapter of Junie B. Jones' Cheater Pants. Last time we read chapter 1, where Junie B. Jones copied off of Tattletale May's homework to get her homework done. Oh, I don't know if that was such a good idea. Today we're going to read chapter 2, which is called Weekend Fun. May got back from the office. She stood at the door and waved again. I did it, everyone. I got the attendance sheet to the office, just like I promised. She looked at Mr. Scary. It went very well, too, she said. There were no problems I couldn't handle. Mr. Scary raised his eyes from what he was doing. Okay. Well, thank you, May. You can take your seat now, please, he said. But May kept right on talking. At first, I didn't know where to put it, but then the secretary told me to put it in the wire basket, so I followed her directions perfectly, she said. Mr. Scary pointed to her seat. Excellent, he said. Now, please sit down, okay? May didn't pay attention again. When I was in kindergarten, I got an E plus for following directions, she said. E plus is better than excellent. The plus sign means extra, extra excellent. Just then, Mr. Scary stood up, and he took May's hand, and he walked her back to her seat. As soon as he went back to his desk, I strained my brain for something nice to say to her, because I was still happy at May for leaving her homework out. Finally, I tapped on her arm, and I smiled. Welcome back, madam, I said real friendly. May did a frown at me. What kind of crack was that, she said. I just looked at her. Friendly does not come natural to us, I think. Pretty soon, Mr. Scary stood up at his desk. Then he walked over to the board and wrote these words. This weekend, one thing I did for fun was... Okay, everyone, he said. For your homework over the weekend, I asked you to complete that sentence, remember? Room 1 nodded. Good, said Mr. Scary, because this morning I'd like for each of you to read your homework paper to the class. That way we'll find out what our classmates did for enjoyment. Doesn't that sound fun? Room 1 nodded again. Even if it doesn't sound fun, you still have to nod. Mr. Scary smiled. We'll go up and down each row until everyone gets a turn. He pointed at Lucille. Lucille, why don't you start us off, he said. Lucille sits in the very front row by the window. Last year, me and her were bestest friends, but this year we're just regular. Lucille stood up and fluffed herself. Then she picked up her paper and she started to read. This weekend, one thing for fun I did was... My Richie Nana took me to her expensive beauty salon, and both of us got manicures and pedicures. Mr. Scary looked surprised at that news. You got a pedicure, Lucille? Wow, that's pretty fancy stuff, isn't it? He said. Lucille shrugged. For some people, maybe, she said. She looked down and kept on reading. Also, we each got a papaya fruit facial, and Nana got an herbal body wrap, plus I got a seaweed scalp massage. Mr. Scary stood there for a second. Then he nodded very slow. Alrighty then, he said. After that, he pointed to Camille. Camille is the sister of Chenille. Those two are twin sets. Camille stood up. This weekend, Chenille and I made a puppet theater out of a cardboard box, and we put on a show for our little brother Neil. Mr. Scary beamed at that news. Oh, that's great, girls, he said. I bet doing a puppet show for your brother was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Not really, said Camille. Neil kept on grabbing the puppets off of our hands, and he made them kill each other. We don't like Neil, said Chenille. Neil is a jerk, said Camille. Mr. Scary just stood there some more. Then finally he moved on to Roger. Roger was the best one so far. This weekend, one thing I did for fun was... I went to get pizza with my dad, and I ate a whole entire anchovy, and I didn't throw up till I was almost home. Room 1 clapped and clapped for that amazing story. Mr. Scary was right. It was fun to learn about what our classmates did over the weekend. I couldn't wait for it to be my turn, because I love to talk in front of the class, of course. Plus, all I had to do was tell about my weekend, and Mr. Scary would think I did my homework. I put that paper I copied from May into my desk. I didn't need it after all, because what do you know, today I lucked out. And that is the end of chapter 2. I wonder what'll happen if she's supposed to tell what she did over the weekend. I wonder if Mr. Scary might collect the papers. Oh, well, we'll have to find out tomorrow when we read chapter 3, which is titled Twitching. I'll see you then.